Welcome to Education Vision. Today we are going to be talking about repeat sentence. This is the second task of your speaking exam and the second task of your PTE exam as well, because the speaking section is the very first section of your exam. Now, in repeat sentence, before we get into details, this task is simply about you listening to a sentence, and the sentence you have listened to, you have to basically repeat it back to the computer, as the name implies. So let's have a quick look at the scoring of repeat sentence as per Pearson. So in repeat sentence, we have three elements of scoring: content, pronunciation, and fluency. Now, repeat sentence is a task where there is score sharing which is happening, which means that you're getting a score for listening as well as for speaking, which makes this task a very important task for us to ace in the exam. Now, first, if we look at content, so we get 3 marks if all the words in the response from the sentence are repeated in the correct sequence. That is what Pearson is telling us. If we have repeated at least 50% words in the response to the computer, we receive 2 marks for content. And remember here, content basically means your listening score. If your sentence has less than 50% marks or words, that would be 1 score for content. Pronunciation, it's the same thing, that when you're speaking the sentence out, you have to make sure that your words that you're pronouncing, they should have the vowel sounds and they should be spoken correctly. And we do have a video which in detail talks about how you're supposed to pronounce words. Fluency 5, native-like. So what do we mean by fluency? Native-like fluency. It means that when you're speaking, there should be no hesitations, no pauses, and when you speak in one go. This is what Pearson is telling us about your fluency, pronunciation, and content. Now, let us have a quick look at what the repeat sentence question task it looks like. So this is what the exam it looks like. There is beginning in 3, 2, 1, then there is playing, and then immediately there is the option for recording. So one thing before we get into the strategies and the tips and tricks in detail, you should understand one thing. In repeat sentence, there is no margin for error. Meaning to say, there is no way that you can listen to the sentence, think about the sentence that, okay, what did the person say? And then you start speaking. Because remember, in speaking, when you see the word recording starting, you have 3 seconds only with you. And after 3 seconds, the microphone by default would switch off. This applies to all speaking questions that we are doing. When you're speaking, and if there is a 3-second pause, the microphone is off, it means that question is over for you. So that's why I'm reminding you, when we are talking about fluency, make sure there is no pause. When you have completed your response, click next and move on to the next question straight away. So this is the interface of repeat sentence. We'll come back to this and talk about it in more detail. Let us now get to these strategies, the tips and tricks, how the Pearson algorithm is actually scoring you and what are the things you should be careful about. So let's have a look at repeat sentence with the strategies. So we get in the exam 10 or 12 sentences. So it could be 10, 11 or 12 sentences. This task is giving approximately 30 marks to your listening section and 30 marks to your speaking section. As we just now saw the interface, The preparation time where it says beginning, it's 3 seconds. The audio's length could be 3 to 4 seconds, which is approximately 7 words to 17, 18 words. That is the length of the sentence that you could get in the exam. And the answering time given to you is 15 seconds. Next is all words in the sentence carry the same importance. What do we mean by this? Now, to explain this point, we do have an example, but I want you to understand one concept. The problem in repeat sentence that majority of the students they have is because there is one thing which we have been doing since we are children. For example, if someone says to us, "What did you have for breakfast today?" What did you have for breakfast today? That is 7 words. Our brain will listen to all these words, but the focus will go on breakfast today. And on these 2 words, we give a response back to the person who has asked us this question. If I do not understand the word breakfast today, my natural response to that person would be, "Sorry, could you repeat your question?" Despite the fact that I have listened to all the remaining 5 words. Now, in repeat sentence, when we bring this concept over here, normally when students, they listen to a sentence, they focus on only the big words. And if in the big words, they are unable to understand 1 or 2 key words, or in simple language, big words, what happens is that we start fumbling, we start panicking in the exam, and we are unable to repeat that sentence back. That's why the first thing which I've even highlighted here is that all words in the sentence, they carry the same importance. Let's have a look at this example that I have given here. It is a warm day in Adelaide and the auroras have been beaming over the skies above. Now, this is just a random sentence that I've taken. This is not an exam sentence. But my point is to explain that when we are listening to the sentence, my brain will focus on the words Adelaide, auroras, beaming, and skies. Out of these 4 words, if I don't understand a word, what will happen? I'll start panicking, I might fumble, I might mispronounce a word, a lot of errors could take place. But here's the fun part. When I say all the words carry the same importance, it means that this word is, for example, this word is and this word auroras, both of them in the eyes of the computer give you the same score. So there is no chance that you could say, no, this word auroras has to be spoken because this is more important. One thing I'm going to be saying, and you should write it down. Repeat sentence is all about quantity, not quality. What do I mean by this is that the computer's algorithm is interested in the number of words you're speaking, not in the quality of which words you spoke. So the quantity, the number of words is important, because this is what we have observed in point number 5, that in the exam, if you speak at least 50% or more of the sentence back to the computer, you normally get a full score. Now, I know I did earlier show you the scoring, what Pearson says, but remember, the algorithm, it changes its scoring every few months, and this is what we have observed, that if you're speaking even half of the sentence, so for example, if there is a sentence of 10 words and you're speaking 5, but the 5 words are fluently spoken with a proper pronunciation, you get a full score for that sentence, which massively will help you for your listening score as well as your speaking, of course. So the aim is 50% of our content has to be repeated back to the computer. Next thing is that In point number 7, I'll talk about that first. In repeat sentence, we have observed one thing. While you're speaking the sentence, if you pause and then complete the sentence, you don't receive any score for that sentence. So the point is, while speaking the sentence, if you do even have to pause, stop there. Click next, move to the next question. You will still receive a score. Opposite to, if you are speaking, you pause and you complete, you don't get a score for that. That is our observation after several exams what we have recently been giving and testing these hypotheses. And the last part is, always speak the last part of the sentence and then the first part of the sentence. Why am I saying this? The first thing that I want to clarify here is that the computer in repeat sentence is interested in two things. Number one, the words of the sentence that you're speaking should be from the sentence. You cannot add words from yourself in the sentence. If you do add words, you're not receiving any credit or any score for that. So never add words from yourself. It will not help you in any way. When we are trying to repeat something, it is human nature that we remember the most recent information that has been communicated to us because we as humans have a short-term memory. So what we have observed with our students is when we make them practice speaking the last part of the sentence and then the first part, yes, it is something that we normally don't do. And some people do question us that, hey, but it does not make any grammatical sense. The answer is, it does not need to make grammatical sense because the computer is interested in the quantity, the number of words that you're speaking. So when you speak the last part and then the first, you will observe that your quantity of words is a lot more as compared to when you speak from the start to the end. So this is the methodology that I would be recommending you all to practice. It would take you probably 20 or 30 sentences to get familiar with this style. But trust me guys, this always works as magic in the exam. Your content will always be the highest and your listening score would be very high because this is giving you 30 marks for listening. So let's now apply this concept and see how can we practically use it.
International students can get help with locating housing near the university.
Near the university, international students can get housing. That's it. When I speak the last part, it gives me the confidence to remember and recall the first part and the middle part. And when I add those words, I have basically crossed 50% of that sentence. Let's do one more example.
The student welfare officer can help with questions about exam technique.
Can help with exam technique, the student welfare officer. So when you speak that last chunk, the last 3-4 words, you know that now you're very close to achieving that 50% content which is needed by the computer to give you a high score. This is the way how you should practice repeat sentence and you will see that you will be getting a very high score for your listening and speaking. Hopefully this lecture has been useful for you. Keep watching all the videos. Thank you.